Is it a little blurry, like a tiny bit? No. Okay. I'm like, uh-oh. Okay. A tiny, okay, good. I was like, uh-oh, something's wrong. All right. Oh man. Let's see if maybe if when I do this, it'll be better. That's better, right?
Way better.
Except it's shaking. I always assume it's me. I'm like, oh no, the eyes are going. Oh. Did everyone have a good weekend? Yeah. It felt like it lasted a long time, which I was grateful for. I was like, I love when the weekends feel long. And then for real this time, this upcoming weekend is actually a 3-day weekend, right? Like I know I would jump the gun on that, but this one coming up, we get 3 days off. We get Monday, well, 3-day weekend, we get Monday off. But I don't know about any of you. Have any of you seen K-pop Demon, like Hunters? I keep confusing Hunter, Slayer, or whatever. We went to the sing-along yesterday at the movie theater. And it was completely sold out. And now all I have stuck in my head is like Golden and all of the songs. Like this morning on the way here, I was my poor children. I was like, let's listen to it. I'm like, you listen to it for weeks. My parents cranked it all the way up. They gave me this look like I was the worst like loser ever. And I'm like, you dragged me to the movie and now I'm into it and now you're mad at me. I'm like, oh, pre-teenage girls are the best. Anyway, I don't know. I felt like I needed to share that with you, but that's okay. I'm gonna hand this around. So I printed this out. So instead of taking attendance from here, this will be what I'll do. I'll just pass this around. You can initial or you can write your name. It's totally up to you. It's not worth points. It just helps me keep track of who's here, just in case there's ever like a discrepancy. If you want to change your name on here to anything else, go ahead and write it on here. If your name isn't on here, check it because I just printed this like 15 minutes ago. So this is everybody who is enrolled. But we'll just pass it around and then it can either like make its way back to me or be out over there at that table and I'll grab it at the end. But that way we get those extra few minutes back, which is kind of nice. So I'll just pass that around every time to make sure. And then what we'll do today, we'll keep going. So we left off here, right? We talked about a bunch of different models last time, and we have a couple left to go. But we talked about the cognitive model and then the cognitive behavioral model, where we kind of combine two of them together with that really big idea of mindfulness, which is a huge like buzz term right now in the field of therapy. And where we'll go today, there's a humanistic, existential, and then multicultural models. But I have a couple of clips with this one that I think are really great to see what these look like. But let's talk about this model together a little bit. The humanistic existentialist model, I'm gonna write this over here. Humanistic, kind of combining two together, but they're very similar. So with the humanistic existentialist model, humanism looks a lot at things like goodness, growth. Like what is your potential as a person, right? What are you striving to achieve? We talk a lot about like what you're capable of, things like unconditional positive regard and things along those lines. And existentialism looks at the meaning in life. Like what drives you? What do you find to be meaningful? So when we put them together, we're looking at a lot of like very like positive, maybe not the most concrete or tangible ideas within the field, but this is a very popular perspective for therapy, right? And some of the biggest therapists and biggest models of therapy have come out of this perspective. So we look a lot at like what kind of level of self-awareness do you have? What gives you meaning? What are your values? What are your goals? It's very kind of like positive, like I said, in a way. And two different approaches within this are kind of three, but two big ones. Client-centered therapy, which was developed by Carl Rogers, Gestalt therapy, which was done by Fritz Perls, and then existential therapy, specifically kind of looking at a few like smaller key ideas. So client-centered therapy, Carl Rogers is the guy who developed it. Really famous psychologist, right? And he was really well known for something that he called unconditional positive regard. Do anyone know what that means? And if you have unconditional positive regard for someone, what that would mean? Any ideas? Or who would give it to you potentially? Who in your life would accept you no matter what? Ideally. Yeah. Mom. Yeah, your parents, right? Your mom, your dad, right? Your guardians, or parents, caregivers. Ideally, right? That doesn't happen for everybody, right? But that was, according to him, you need that unconditional positive regard or acceptance from caregivers in order to thrive and reach your potential. He approached therapy in the same way. His goal was to give his clients unconditional positive regard. I'm going to accept you no matter what. If I can't, then I won't work with you, right? Literally, I'll refer you out, right? Because he believed that that was like the core to doing well in therapy. And really cool, there was a series made, and this is so old, it's like way, 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 way back. But there was a series made where 3 different therapists worked with a volunteer whose name is Gloria. And Gloria volunteered to come in and do 30 minutes with 3 different therapists and just to have something she wanted to talk about, but to see where it would go. Now, one of the therapists is Carl Rogers, and one of them is Fritz Perls. And I have these videos to show you, and they're really interesting to watch because what you can see, not only are these like very famous original people who invented it doing their therapy, but you can see how different they are, even with the same person. Right? Every therapist has a different way of approaching therapy, right? A different kind of tone and cadence and level of directness and kindness and so on. Rogers, very, very indirect, right? He believed in being very like, I'm not going to guide you in any way. I'm just going to accept you. I'm just going to let you go. And so I have a video of him talking about how he approaches therapy. And then we'll watch him do a couple minutes of therapy with this woman named Gloria. And again, really like famous series, old, but famous. So I'll play this for you and then I'll write a few kind of that they approach this. Right, so now if you had to choose one, forced choice, Geminis hate this, right? If you had to choose either Pearls or Rogers, how many of you would choose Pearls by show of hands? Oh, a fair amount of you. Rogers? He's looking better now, right? A little bit. But so again, just such a different take, right? He flat out calls her a phony, right? He's like, you're being a phony, right? Like you're putting on a show for me. And in a way, she kind of was. I feel like they make more progress in 5 minutes than she does with Rogers, right? Like that, like attack kind of worked for her a little bit. I don't know, any thoughts about Pearls's approach? Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Like he said, your smile was not very good. I didn't feel like I was there. I thought she was there.
Okay, right? Hard to say, right? Yeah, way back. Yeah.
Like I feel like when someone's called out, it's like their defense to defend themselves.
Yeah.
So when you have your therapist calling you out, you either have that open to defending yourself or be like, oh, what am I really doing right now? So I think she kind of took that moment. I'm not doing okay, well maybe I am. How so I felt that.
Okay. All right. There were a few other hands here.
I just more so like that there was an emotion in that session. The Rogers was like, I feel like any emotion being shown is better than just flat.
Yeah.
More
substance, like
yeah, but they're trying to reach the same angle. If you just quicken the pace by, trying to manipulate her to kind of on fire with them.
Sure. And it's super interesting because she comes in with like a topic in mind. They don't even get to it here, right? Like, but I feel like they get somewhere. Yeah.
I feel like this would be better with someone who's like more cooperative.
Okay.
I don't know. She just didn't seem like he was kept asking the same question over and over again. She was like worried about what he said before and like I don't know. I feel like if she was more like direct with him,
Yeah.
that but still like I'd rather.
Okay. I would shut down in this. Like, it would make me shut down a little bit. I'm a sensitive person, right? I'd be like, stop it. Like, you're being mean and I don't like it, right? Like, if I'm honest and fair with myself, like, I like that he notices little things, like the fact that she says corner and puts her hand here. Like, there's something symbolically important about that, like that she's covering things up and forcing him to be more explicit. I think that's something there too, right? But like the attack would get to me. Was that were you thinking?
I've been just watching. Rage
Right, right, sure.
I feel like thinking about it, like that's also her first impression of him. Like, I
Yeah.
don't know.
Yeah, I'd be afraid a little bit. Yeah,
I thought she was putting on a complete show
sure.
based on the time period. It's like white female trad wife. You know, like, I can't be angry. I'm gonna smile and giggle. I'm a little girl and I'm gonna go hide in the corner and
Sure.
let baby like me if I talk like this and and that's what we're taught to do. I mean, like,
Yeah.
that's what we're taught to do. I came from this generation, so
Right.
like, don't raise your voice, and if you could talk like this, and it's like very manipulative to men. She's attractive, and he's like, yeah, I'm not buying it.
I'm not taking it. No, yeah.
Like, let's talk about what you want to talk about. You're not a little girl.
Yeah.
I don't know what the voice is, and I don't know, but let's talk about what you want to talk about.
Yeah.
And I think he's brilliant.
Yeah. Really interesting guy.
But yeah, like I said, I think that was her whole show, her whole stick. It's the only way that women could have power back.
At the
that
time,
era.
yeah. It's a very different era, right?
That era, women couldn't have their own credit cards, couldn't buy their own house. So they had to get the approval of white males.
Right, through
Or-
whatever way, right? And that was
And
very
that
much
was
like
way-
the
it was a
appropriate,
sexual little girl way.
right? And she definitely has that like vibe to her, right? And I think what's interesting, again, like every therapist is different, but like I think it's important to pay attention to nonverbals. Like if you have a client who is shifting in their seat, or all of a sudden they start like they kind of like do this or they hunch down, like those are important cues to pay attention to. Are they the only thing I would pay attention to? Definitely not. Right. So everyone again is a little bit different. And then existential therapy looks at like the bigger picture and what gives you meaning. Really common exercise within existential therapy is to pretend that you died tomorrow and write your obituary.
Like,
What's missing, right? What do you wish you had done, right? Like really common, like look at the meaning that you have in your life. Intense exercise to do, right? But kind of looking at what gives you meaning and like value, and like looking at a little bit more like religion too, and like faith-based in some ways sometimes. But all three of these fall in the same realm of trying to look at like goodness and growth and meaning and all these kind of things, but they get there in very, very different ways. Another really common Gestalt technique, back to Gestalt here, is the empty chair technique. I used this once so successfully and it worked out really cool. It's where you literally have an empty chair in front of you and you speak to it as if somebody's sitting there, whoever it might be. I had a young female client who was going home for the holidays and wanted to tell her mom that she was lesbian, right? And was terrified to do it, that her parents would kick her out. And so she's talking to her mom as if her mom is in the chair. And then she has to get up and respond as her mother, talking to herself. And you literally physically get up back and forth and pretend you're that person. Really cool technique, and that's within Gestalt. Every single one of these has their own little like tips and tricks and things they use. Again, most people kind of combine them, but really cool that we have that video series. If you go on YouTube, you could find the rest of it if you want to watch like the whole half hour. Really interesting to watch. Again, they both get somewhere, just in very, very different ways. Yeah.
So, another therapy online. So it's really hard to get the same vibe into
Sure.
it with your therapist or client. Like I've had my therapist and I've never met him in person, but one time I was like, I don't want to talk about it. So let's go over your last thing. And he's like, I use an AI software. And he's like, client did this. And it even said something about like the non-verbals, like I'm biting my fingers. And I'm like, oh wow. It's so crazy to hear him explaining me
Yeah.
my last visit, and like, okay, now I remember what we were talking about in an AI version, but like it's a crazy thing that technology has.
Yeah.
That's why I love it online.
Yeah. very different meeting in person versus like, you know, via like Zoom or something like that, or even on the phone, you can hide a little bit better, but not everything, right? And yeah, just very different.
I think that was fun. The client was speaking rather quickly this second.
Sure.
I was like, oh, wow.
Oh, right. Thank you for noticing, I suppose, right? Yeah. Last model here, the multicultural or socio-cultural model, kind of interchangeable here. So from this one, I'll write it over here. Last one, multicultural. So this one, we're looking at like cultural forces, right? So different cultures that you belong to, different expectations or stereotypes. Very squeaky thing. But we're looking at kind of how different cultures that you belong to might shape you. We're looking at the presence of other people. This approach tends to use a lot of like multiple people working together, right, within therapy. So like couples therapy, family therapy with more than one person in it, like group therapy as well. So we're looking at how other people tend to affect us, right? We tend to have cultural expectations from the different groups that we belong to, whether it's our gender, our race, our ethnicity, our religion, our family, our friends, right? They all have kind of different dynamics to them. And that's something that we look at a lot within this approach. And again, almost all of the therapies here involve more than one person. So we see things like group therapy or self-help groups being really, really common. They're similar, but a little different. Group therapy is when you have a group of people together, all struggling with the same issue. So maybe you have a bunch of people together who are struggling with eating disorders. And the nice part about this is everyone in that group can kind of understand somebody's story when they share it, to a degree, at least. So if somebody's like, last night I had a piece of pizza and I didn't throw it up, right? That's profound. Everyone understands because they're going through it as well. There's like a camaraderie and a feeling of not being alone that comes out of it. It's typically led by a therapist or maybe even two therapists, depending on the size of the group. A self-help group is a little different. It's more like AA and NA, or like a group that's led by someone who's not a clinician. So it might be someone who's like a sponsor or someone who has more experience in that area, but they're not a therapist per se, right? And the tricky part with both of these is you have to set really good boundaries. When you have groups of people, things can get heated very, very quickly. And we watched Blades of Glory over the weekend. I don't know if any of you have seen that movie. There's like a self-help group in there that's like sex addicts, and then they're all having sex with each other afterward in the parking lot, right? Like you give each other access to people who all struggle with the same thing. Sometimes they can enable each other. Another example of that, if you've seen the movie Anger Management, they're all there because they're struggling with anger. And so it can get very heated very quickly. I have a clip of that. I'll play it for you really quickly. But you have to really set good boundaries. Otherwise, these things can get kind of out of control. But sharing their stories, people kind of responding and understanding, people being at different phases of their like treatment or recovery or insight. And so they can be really, really helpful. They're also quite a bit cheaper typically than like traditional one-on-one therapy. So these are used for a lot of different purposes, right? Especially like common issues like eating disorders, anger, and so on. Right, so group therapy and self-help groups. Yeah. That one is usually free. Okay, so some of them, if it's run by a private company, they often charge you, right? But things like AA and NA and that whole like cluster of different treatments are typically free, and don't cost you. It depends though, right? Like that one would definitely cost money because it's like a trained person. And that one's kind of like a weird hybrid between the two, but those ones are typically free. Other things within this approach, couples therapy, family therapy, and culture sensitive therapies are also ones that you might see here. Family therapy, notoriously unpopular with the children who are dragged to it. If you've ever been to family therapy, it's not always the most fun thing to go to. It's your family who all go together to talk about things like responsibility, communication, whatnot, like everything that goes on in your family dynamic. So again, it's the presence of more than one person. It's the culture of your family. right? And oftentimes this is part of like a treatment regime. If like somebody's struggling in the family, the whole family might go to therapy to work on it. And my parents were huge on therapy. I swear, like I was looking at ink blots when I was 3 months old and crying at them. I'm pretty sure, right? Like my parents were just so big on therapy from a very, very young age. And I remember going to family therapy with them, right? And I remember hating it. My brother and I would be like, we have to go again. It's just like the adults gang up on the children. That's how it felt to us. Except once we had one big victory, which turned out to not really be a victory. They kind of like, I think gaslit us a little bit, right? But we went into a therapy session and my parents were complaining how we never clean our rooms. They never clean their rooms. It's always a mess. They won't clean it. We can't get them to clean it. And the therapist was like, well, that is their one space in this world that's their own. And if they would like it to be messy, you need to respect that. My brother and I looked at each other like, what's happening right now? We're going to win. We don't have to clean our rooms. Like the therapist was like, so you don't need to push them on that. If they would like it to be messy, let them have it be messy. And we went home, and because we didn't have to clean our rooms anymore, we started cleaning our rooms, right? So I think in the end they won, but in the moment it felt like a huge victory, right? I'll never forget it because it was like, we win. And then we started cleaning our rooms. And years later, I'm like, wait a minute, they won, but that's okay. But that's kind of the idea of family therapy. Like, what are issues affecting the whole unit and how can we target them or like work on them? Couples therapy or marital therapy, interchangeable terms, working with people in a relationship. It could be to help them break up. It could be to help them stay together, right? Different goals. Really volatile type of therapy. My favorite to do, but the most terrifying to do, right? There were times where I'm like, they are going to kill each other on the way home. Like, I'm not going to ever see them again, but like so fascinating to watch because when they walk into the office, if there is a couch and two chairs, where do they sit? Fascinating, right off the bat. Their choice that they make right there tells you so much about their relationship and their boundaries and their comfort. Do they sit together on the couch? Are they touching? Are they at opposite ends of the couch? Is one on the couch and one on the chair? Like, oh, I loved that moment. When they walk in with me, where are they going to sit? Right? Little things like that can tell you a lot. And there's a movie that features a wonderful little like montage of this. It's a comedy, but I think it's fantastic. Couples Retreat, if you've ever seen it, is all about like all these couples going to a retreat on an island and receiving therapy and a little montage, and they're all comedians, which I think makes it like funnier. But this really cool clip of a bunch where you like have like a really wonderful moment and then, oh, we're done. Perfect timing, right? Like very rarely as a side note, right? But what you see in that clip are all these different couples coming in to work on stuff. They have different levels of like kind of nonverbal communication that they have with how close they sit, how open they are to each other, different issues that they're going on with. I think it's a fantastic like little montage of that. It's from the movie Couples Retreat as a side note again. But couples therapy can be really helpful for boundaries, for communication, sex, responsibilities. Those are some of the really common issues that come up. And the stereotype is that it's for people to stay together, but it also might be a way to successfully navigate breaking up, right? It can go either way. As I mentioned, I loved doing this. I once worked with a triad of gay men in a relationship together. It was probably the most fascinating therapy I've ever like gotten to do. They were having jealousy issues because two of them were sleeping together more than the third one. It was so wildly like interesting. They were talking about how they had they're like, we have more hands to do everything because there's three of us. And it's like, well, that's kind of the problem too, right? There are too many hands right present. But it was so wildly interesting. But you have to set a lot of boundaries because they bring all this stuff up and then you send them on their way. And you have to hope they don't, fight the whole way home in the car. It can be a very difficult, emotional like type of therapy, but really, really effective for people who need it as well. Culture sensitive therapy is look at like if you're part of a minority group, maybe looking at things that you might face as part of that group, right? And then trying to tackle them or find support for them. Everything here focusing on the presence of more than one person, the roles of different cultures, different forces, different groups that you belong to. All right, so a couple of different things here. And then one last kind of comment. Oops, here we go. Integrating the models together, as I mentioned, like it tends to be the case that they're all kind of combined, right? Where rather than one rigidly done by itself, we tend to kind of combine them together. And there's a newer term for this. It's called developmental psychopathology. It's this perspective that tries to like cumulatively look at how we can end up where we are now. Right, and these two terms come out of it, equifinality and multifinality. And I think the little diagram is super helpful. Equifinality says that a number of different routes can lead to the same disorder. Okay, so all these different traumas could lead to PTSD, right? Different traumas can lead to the same disorder. Multifinality is that trauma, right? So we're already here, like that people with similar developmental histories might have different clinical outcomes. So you could have somebody who experiences trauma, one person experiences PTSD, one experiences depression, maybe one's a substance use disorder. They can lead to different outcomes in the end. And this perspective tends to look at everything kind of combining together in order to arrive at where we are today, right? So trying to look at how our development and how all the factors in our life might collectively account for where we are, right? And in general, we tend to do that. We tend to combine them together. You pick and choose. So maybe you're more Freudian one day and you look at a dream that someone proposes, and the next day you're looking at body language, or it might even be in the same session, right? I think, again, a good therapist tends to kind of adapt, but there are still programs out there where you can be trained to be in one perspective alone. As a way to kind of review this, I'm going to give you a short like homework assignment. It shouldn't take you very long to do. But I'm thinking of my daughter last night. She's like, my teachers keep giving me homework. I'm like, you're in middle school now. You feel like you're gonna have homework. She's like, they don't care about my well-being. And I was like, I'm giving homework tomorrow. Like, it's not true. It's not that we don't care, right? We just want you to like hold on to the information. She's like, I don't see that. So I keep thinking about that in my head as I'm giving you homework. But what it is it's a short case study on the front. And then on the back, what I want you to do is pick out information from each model. Okay, so you're going to read through it, and then you're going to identify like how you could explain this guy Mark's behavior from each of the perspectives that we talked about. Just a couple of like bullets or ideas that connect to that perspective. And then what we'll do next class is I'll get you into groups, and I'll let you take a couple of minutes to kind of like bounce your ideas off of each other. We'll talk about it together, and then I'll collect it. So this is the second of those 10-point activities. So I think what I'll do, just for simplicity, I'll leave it right here. And if you want to grab one on your way out, this will be due on Wednesday. So make sure that you work on it between now and Wednesday. Bring it with you, and then I'll give you a couple of minutes to bounce it off other people. Did everyone have a chance to sign the sign-in sheet? It looks like it's right here. If you didn't, make sure you sign it. If you're not on there, come check in with me. Otherwise, I will see you all on Wednesday. We'll wrap this up, and then we'll move on to chapter 3. Thank you.
Yeah. And then you have part of
Yes. Oh no, you're fine. Here's one if you want it, right? Oh, thank you.